My girlfriend told me she is pregnant, but that's impossible because I'm sterile. I am from a C country and my first language is not English. I'm 26M. My girlfriend is 24F. Backstory: I got into an accident after college and will never be able to have kids. None of my family members know of this. They know about the accident, but not about this. I have always wanted to be childless, so it did not affect me much mentally. I finished my master's degree last year and have never dated before. I got a very high-paying job directly through campus placements. My parents immediately wanted me to get married after getting a job, but I wanted to work on myself and explore a bit. They said no, and I said that it was my wish. All my life, I did what they wanted, and for the first time, when I talked against them, they were not happy. This was last year, and they gave up after COVID started. So I picked up some dating apps and went through them, but no luck. Then my parents introduced me to a family friend's daughter, and we kind of clicked. Looking back, I was a fool. She said yes to anything I said and never complained about anything. I felt kind of weird about it. I wanted her to express her interests, but she always said she was interested in whatever I did. Well, I did not think much about it. I said that I wouldn't have kids ever, and she surprisingly said okay. I was like, damn, she is probably the one, as it is very hard to find a partner who is childless in my country, or at least I thought, but we were in the initial stages, and I have not told you about my accident. Long story short, we had sex a month ago, and I used condoms for safety first. The next day, she started ghosting me a bit. I thought it was due to my performance in bed and wanted to give her some space. Then she texted infrequently and only replied okays and Ks and one-line answers. I thought maybe she wanted to end the relationship and was sad, but she left it at that. Yesterday, all her family came to my house, and she claims she's pregnant, and her father is me. Needless to say, I freaked the fuck out and wanted to collapse on the ground. I did not say anything while they were talking about marriage and stuff that needed to happen because I got her pregnant. Please advise me on what steps to take now. Reddit. Update: let me start off by saying I am very grateful for all the readers who took the time to read and give me advice. I was overwhelmed by the number of comments and how many of you said it might not even be my kid. Looking at it from a different perspective gave me much more insight into the whole situation. I called my boss and took today off. I called up some clinics to get tested, and I was given a slot on Friday afternoon. Then I went to the store and bought some pregnancy tests and asked only her to come to my place tomorrow, i.e., this morning. I also called my parents, and before I said anything, my mom asked me if I had any good news. I was shocked by what she said and asked me what exactly she was talking about. She then played dumb, and I knew that the situation was more fucked than I thought. I cut the call and cried all night till 3 a.m., a grown man crying for the first time since 8th grade. She came this morning with her parents, even after I told her to come alone. They were under the impression that I was going to discuss engagement plans with them. I told them to wait outside and called her in, and they threw a fit. I told them they could all go back or let her alone come in, and they said okay. I took out the pregnancy tests and gave them to her, told her to prove that she was actually pregnant, and told her where the bathroom was. She started screaming at me. I had never done this before. I was shocked at this. Then she went out the door and called her parents in. Now everyone is screaming at me in my own home because I asked her to prove the pregnancy, not even a DNA test. I told them all to fuck off, and 1 hour later, my parents and they all came to my home, and they spilled the beans. She was never actually pregnant, as many Redditors said, and my parents were afraid that I was getting old for marriage and wanted me to marry and give them grandchildren. They said that in arranged marriages, there is no need for people to actually get to know the spouse because parents choose only the best for their kids. They planned this all and were only waiting for me to have sex with her to do this. I broke down and cried again. All my life, I did exactly what my parents wanted, always scored high, and never asked for anything. I told them to get out and never talk to me again in between crying, and they said parents know what's best for their kids, and I should do what they say. Then I got extremely angry and told them to fuck themselves in my native language, which was very bad. For once, I think they knew I was serious with them, and they all left. I blocked them all before sending my parents a message to end life. Again, contact me in my life even if one of you is dying. I cried for some more time, went through some dog videos, and went through all my messages on Reddit, and I feel like I owe you guys this update because it was you guys who helped me do this. That is all, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Update. I want to thank you all for taking your time, reaching out, and giving advice. The last few days, I feel like a burden has been lifted off me, especially from my parents, who always expect many things from me. The first day after the confrontation was a shit show. My parents forced relatives to reach out to me, asking me to see why. I declined. They stopped after 2 days after a harsh message from me requesting no contact. I also took appointments for family planning, a vasectomy, which is next month. Some people asked if I would ever tell my family about this, but I will not. My body is my business. I will, of course, tell potential future dates that I am childless and also had a vasectomy beforehand. Some people have asked where I am from. I am from India.
My daughter pranked my ex's mistress at her wedding, causing her to get diarrhea. My ex is angry. My 42F ex-husband, 44M, cheated on me when we were married. I have two 16-year-old twin daughters who haven't really coped well with their father cheating on their mother with a much younger woman in her 30s. They hate her, and I haven't really encouraged my daughters to consider her a maternal figure. The mistress also knew we were married and were having problems, and she had an equal part in ruining my marriage as she pursued him first. They were working in the same office. I try to maintain a civil relationship with my ex, and we co-parent and have 50-50 custody. After a year now, my husband married the mistress, which personally felt like a slap on my face and a funeral of my marriage, as I still had some love for him, even though he didn't deserve it. I was obviously not a part of the wedding festivities. My daughters are teenagers and act out like teenagers do. Lately, I've seen an increased amount of aggression in them, and their teachers have also brought to my attention that they have bullied a girl who was dating their common friend's ex. It's just not a great situation, and they are currently on the wait list for individual counseling. My daughters do not like the mistress and are very disrespectful towards her. My husband wanted me to intervene and facilitate a civil dynamic, but honestly, why should I care how my daughters treat the woman who tore apart our family? Don't get me wrong, I hate him more than her, but we could have resolved our issues on our own if she hadn't inserted herself in our marriage. There's always a possibility. Anyway, during the rehearsal dinner, the bride apparently had to leave for the bathroom every 5 minutes. It turns out she got diarrhea and was pretty upset about it. The next day, her stomach issues weren't as bad, but it was still a miserable day for her, and as a bride, I can understand the fear of exploding one from your bum. She had constant pain in her stomach the entire day, and my ex had to postpone his honeymoon because she developed a stomach bug. It's safe to say her nuptials and post-nuptials were ruined, haha. My daughters gleefully told me that they had crushed up some strong laxatives and spiked her food with them. The right approach would have been to scold them for what they did, but I did have a good laugh over it. I did tell them that what they did was inappropriate and they shouldn't repeat it, but I'm not going to punish them for it as I understood where their actions came from. I do not condone it, but I still had a good laugh over it. My husband found out what had happened, and he wants to ground our two daughters. He wants to take away their phones for a whole month, but I purchased them new ones. They had an iPhone XS, and they both turned 17 in 2 weeks, so I consider it a birthday gift, when they got here. I disagreed with him and told him that when my daughters stay with me, I'm not going to punish them for a silly prank. To their credit, they didn't intend to ruin her wedding day, that's why they decided to prank her only at the rehearsal dinner. I just don't think punishing them when they are hurting like this is going to help. My husband has no intention of ever telling the mistress what my daughters did, though. She probably thinks she has food poisoning or intolerance, and doesn't want to discuss it out of